What we're really talking about here is a trailer option that Kempsey Council's come up with. It's an innovative solution, or we think it is, to actually get out to households in our Shire. Our Shire is quite big, and we'll go through that in a second. The trailer that we've designed is the first of its kind, we think, in Australia, certainly in New South Wales. It was fully funded by the EPA under their Waste Less Recycle More CRC Innovation Fund. Things that we do pick up are paint, polystyrene, batteries, oils, e-waste, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, gas bottles and fluorescent lights. Some of the things that we'll go through are up there on the board, and I'll get stuck into it. So Kempsey Council is located on the mid-north coast. We've only got 29,000 residents. We've got about 3,500 square kilometres, which gives us probably about 8 people per square kilometre, so it's not a very dense environment. Across that, we've got farmers, rural residential, we've got micro-agri-business, we've got 1 licensed landfill and 3 transfer stations. If I can get the pointer to work. We've got a transfer station out here at beautiful Bellbrook. Takes about 45 minutes or an hour to get from Kempsey to get out to here. We've got one out at Stewart's Point, one at Southwest Rocks, and our main landfill is around about here on Crescent Head Road. The next couple of pictures just sort of depict the type of terrain that we've got in our beautiful area in the Macleay. That's not me, but I live very close. I just want to show a bit of a diversity in our area. I couldn't have a presentation about Kempsey without Slim Dusty in there somewhere, the birthplace of Slim. We've got mountainous regions, beautiful countryside, but as we say, we don't have a very dense population. We've got a lot of natural attractions, we don't have a lot of people. So the idea really was how are we going to collect our hazardous waste across the Shire that's so dispersed? How are we going to help our community properly dispose of this waste? We've got issues of illegal dumping like just about everyone else. That's a council from the area or in the room, I'd suggest. Our community sometimes want to do the right thing. They get to our landfills or they can't get to our landfills. It's easy for them to illegally dump wastes across our Shire. And we also wanted to understand why our community wasn't visiting our transfer stations or our landfill. Why weren't they dropping these things off, which are for free? We collect most of these items for free at our landfill and transfer stations, but we really didn't have a huge uptake. We knew that because we offer once-off household hazardous waste collections, we do that normally once or twice a year as a region across Mid-Waste, we have huge volumes coming in. That just tells us that people are stockpiling these hazardous wastes until those things come around. So we really did want to have a look at a different approach at how we'd get there. We applied, as I said, for $29,000 under the Waste Less Recycle More CRC Innovation Fund. That was broken down basically into fabrication, signage and some PPE. Council tipped in the dedicated operator. He's funded out of our Better Waste Recycling Fund, which most of you would understand in the room. And Council picks up the other part of it. So we've got a dedicated operator that goes around the Shire with this trailer. He goes out 3 days a week. The other 2 days a week he's either up at our landfill working with our guys on our reuse shop or doing litter collections on roadside. So he's got a pretty diverse range of work, but when we started and when we went through the process of appointing this person, we realised that it didn't matter what he or she knew about waste. Waste really didn't matter. We wanted someone that had the right attitude. We wanted someone that could actually talk to our community, could engage with our community, could offer information to our community and provide that feedback back to us, and also be an ambassador for us. So we poached him from the local Bunnings. He's a local boy. Everyone knew his face. It worked really, really well. When we came to the design of the trailer, not having done any of this sort of things before, we sort of sat down and scratched our heads and wondered what we were going to do. We worked out what we wanted to pick up, we worked out what we were going to pick up and what we weren't going to pick up. So all sounds very similar, but there were certain things that we didn't want to touch at that time. Chemicals, anything like that, we didn't want a piece of. We looked at some of our illegal dumping areas and we looked at what people were dumping. So that's how we came up with our list of items that we were going to collect, and we really designed our trailer around those. The other thing that was apparent halfway through that process was finding a suitable and a reputable trailer manufacturer. We don't have a lot of those in our Shire. We ended up searching around Australia, and we found two companies, which is really the same company working in Queensland and New South Wales, built to last classic trailers, and they were the ones that we ended up going with. They build a lot of trailers for educational purposes, for SES, fires, fireys and those sorts of things. So we ended up going with them. Here's our first rough draft sketch of our trailer. We wanted compartments, as we said, to pick up those types of wastes. And the sort of the angle shape at the front of the trailer was really put in. We knew that people weren't just going to come to us with what we wanted to collect. We knew they would come with other items, and we didn't really want to turn them away. That little compartment at the front normally houses two 40-litre bins. If people come with recycling, small amounts of metal, small amounts of rubbish, we'll take it off their hands. We don't want to create more illegal dumping sites. So that's pretty much what that whole compartment at the front was. The other 8 compartments were dedicated to the waste that we wanted to collect. There's our first photo during fabrication. One of the key things that we also wanted was regular updates from our trailer manufacturer about the process. EPA, when we received the funding, we said that we were going to have this out fairly quickly. We wanted to stick to that schedule, and we were able to do so. That was another really strong consideration of going with that trailer manufacturer, was their time frames and actually the past work that they'd done. That's what the trailer looked like when it first came to us. We wanted to go check a plate. We wanted to have it looking pretty flash and fancy. And the white panels that were on the trailer were areas that we were going to cover with signage. So we wanted as much space as we possibly could get on the trailer to have different messages on there. When it came to getting sign-off from the EPA, I can't talk highly enough of Glenn Sheffer or his team from the EPA. They were brilliant in getting back to us, helping us along the way with things that we perhaps hadn't considered. I don't know how we didn't think of it in the first place, but all of a sudden we were an organisation transporting hazardous waste. With that comes, a lot of documentation, a lot of paperwork, a lot of protocols, a lot of documentation that we needed to come up with. Obviously, anyone that's got an EPA grant, you'd know the process of getting signage and getting logos matched and all those sort of things. That was a process that we had to go through. Ventilation was something else that we hadn't considered, but Glenn and his team came back to us. Bunding for certain areas of the trailer as well was pretty important, so we weren't spilling waste or transporting and spilling waste all over our Shire. PPE and, as I said, documentation. My main point would be to make sure that if you're going to go along these or any of your EPA grants, that you liaise with the EPA the whole way through. We really got a really good relationship with them throughout that process. So we had this trailer. We thought, okay, how are we going to get the message out? In a Shire like ours, you can do everything you want, but no one still listens. It's sort of word of mouth is the main driver. So we started getting key people within the community, and we started talking to them about what we were trying to do. We did do flyers in the local paper. We did do postcard size documentation. I've got some over there if people would like them. We did things on Facebook. We did do things on our website, media releases, and we were quite fortunate that at the time that we were ready to release this, there was no news. It was a quiet month. It was a really quiet month. We had the 2 local TV news reporters come and do a really big expose on us. They did a really good job, and that helped get the message out there. But again, it was that word of mouth. We really spent a lot of time and effort getting that message out to our community. And one of the ways that we do that is obviously through our staff. Pretty small community. We got the message out to our staff, and then they start to get that message out and so on. The other thing that worked for us is the operator's wife is our communications officer, so she was pretty keen to see this succeed as well, so she put a lot of time and effort into it. This is the flyer. I've got copies if you'd like to see. This is what went out to every household just through the regular local rag, I suppose. The EPA came up with a colour scheme. We weren't so happy with the colour scheme. We thought we looked like Kennard's Hire or something. we really wanted to have the Kempsey logo larger, and anyway, this is what we came up with. We're quite happy with the way it looks and how it's being received in the community, but when we first started, we weren't all that happy with the colours. The other part to the flyer, which I've got to you, is actually how we scheduled pickups around our area. We did it on a day of the month, not on a date. So it was the first Tuesday or the first Thursday or the second Thursday of the month, and we've stuck to those. It seems to work really well in our community, rather than saying on the first of the month we're going to be here, because it might be a weekend, it might not work. We also didn't want to do things on Mondays or Fridays, considering that's when the majority of public holidays are, and we didn't want to confuse people, so we really stuck to the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we put a location down there where we could. Some of them you can see are around fire sheds, some are opposite general stores, and when you're talking about some of these communities, that's the only infrastructure that you have, is a fire shed, and then you've got no one for another 10, 15 kilometres. So we tried to make it in recognisable areas. Boat ramps, those sorts of things. Car parks at roundabout at Crescent Head. I mean, we've only got one roundabout in Crescent Head, so it's quite plain to see where it is. It's a high-profile site as well, but we tried to be as picky with our locations as we could to make sure people knew where it was. You probably can't read this too well. This is just our website. It's just very much in line with the flyer. Success for us so far has been about choosing those locations that would actually cover our Shire. I showed that map earlier. We cover probably 80% of our Shire now. We are having some of our outer-lying residents asking why we're not going out to their place. We might look to that into the future. Partnering with some of our businesses. One of our largest electrical suppliers in town, Setnaj, we actually operate out of their car park 1 day a week in Kempsey, and we've had a huge uptake of people coming out there. It's amazing the items that we collect there. Choosing high-profile areas, as I said, choosing the right areas in smaller locations, scheduling on weeks of the month rather than dates, being flexible with our approach. As I said, we knew we weren't just going to get those things, those items that we wanted to collect. I think we have collected one fridge and I think one person's general rubbish over the time it's been running, but most people are pretty happy with the service that we're providing and sticking to the items that we want to collect. Staffing's really key. We had, as I said, we had the local guy from Bunnings, a familiar face, a happy bloke, eager to engage, eager to have a chat, the captain of the local rugby league side. He ticked all the boxes for us. He wasn't not getting this job, it was his, and we made sure that we got someone that we thought we could work very well with. And the other thing is that we were already collecting a lot of those items, so we wanted to continue doing that. Here's what the trailer looks all skinned up. The next are just a lot of photos of it in operation. It's been going for 3 months now. Fairly relatively short period of time. In that time, we've picked up 26 tonnes of this material. It's over 2,500 paint tins, 32 smoke detectors, about 130 kilos of polystyrene, 2,700 household batteries, 230 car batteries, fluoro globes, nearly 1,000 fluoro tubes, 2,000 litres of oil, 170 odd gas bottles, 28 fire extinguishers. Also with our e-waste, over 300 TVs, over 100 printers, printer cartridges, over 120 laptops, and over 30 mobile phones. This is just something that you wouldn't have picked up from the designs. This is a tray that we got designed in the trailer to specifically carry our fluorescent tubes. We wanted them not to be broken. We didn't want them to stand up. We didn't want to have issues while we were transporting them, so we built a little shelf in there to transport those. And that's it. If anyone's got any questions, I think we'll leave them till the end or now.